One day, the girl's mother told her, "Take this cake and fruit to your grandmother. She is not well and they will help her get better. Do not dilly-dally and stay on the path. When you get there, be sure to check all corners of the house, and before you go into your grandmother's room, do not forget to say good morning." "I will take good care, Mother, do not worry," Red Riding Hood replied. The girl's grandmother lived beyond the village, deep in the forest. Just as Red Riding Hood was about to step into the wood, a wolf came before her. The little girl was not at all afraid, for she did not know what a wicked creature the wolf was.
"Good day, little Red Riding Hood,"
the wolf said. "Good day, Wolf," the girl replied.
"Where are you off to so early in the morning?" he asked.
"Why, to see my grandmother, Wolf," Red Riding Hood told him.
"What have you got there in that basket, child?"
"Some cake and fruit. My grandmother has not been well, and this is to help her recover her strength," she said.
"And where does your grandmother live?" the wolf asked.
"In the wood by the 3 oak trees that sit above the stream. Surely you must know it."
"I suppose I do. It's quite a far journey. Shall I walk with you a bit?"
"If it's not any trouble to you, Wolf," the girl replied. And so Little Red Riding Hood went on her way, and the wolf walked beside her.
He looked down at her and thought, "What a tender young child. She will certainly be delicious. More delicious than the old woman. I must figure a way to make a meal of both of them."
They walked along a bit further before the wolf said to Little Red,
"Look, child, see how beautiful the flowers are here. You walk along and do not notice how sweetly the birds sing and how the sunbeams dance through the trees."
Little Red Riding Hood looked about the forest and saw how the brilliant colours of the flowers shined in the sun. "Grandmama would be so pleased if I brought her some flowers. I suppose I have a bit of time to spare."
The wolf smirked. He thought to himself, "Now's my chance."
And so as Little Red Riding Hood skipped about in the field of flowers, picking them, the wolf ran as fast as he could to her grandmother's house. When he arrived, he knocked at the door.
"Who is there?"
cried the grandmother.
"Little Red Riding Hood, I've come to bring you cake and fruit. Open the door, please, grandmother," he replied. "I am too weak, dear. Just lift the latch and let yourself in."
So the wolf lifted the latch and stepped into the house. He went straight up to the grandmother's room and gobbled her up right away. Then he put on the poor grandmother's nightgown and cap, drew the curtains closed, and got into the bed. Meanwhile, Little Red Riding Hood had picked so many flowers she could barely carry them all, and soon she remembered her grandmother. "Oops, I should be late." Little Red skipped the rest of the way to her grandmother's house and was surprised to find the front door open. She stepped carefully inside and went to her grandmother's room. Before she entered, she announced herself. "Good morning, Grandmama."
"Good morning, child. Come in,"
replied the wolf. So the girl went to the bed and pulled back the curtains. Her grandmother lay in the bed with her cap pulled over her face, looking quite odd. "What big ears you have, Grandmama," cried Little Red. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "And what big eyes you have, Grandmama." "All the better to see you with, my dear." "And what a big mouth you have, Grandmama,"